Well, folks, this is an interview I really have looked forward to. Joining me now is a professional wrestler who grabbed the attention of the WWE pretty much from the start of his career, which doesn't happen very often. Has had a great run with that company and also a number of others. But he was an incredibly popular superstar. He's remained a very, very popular professional wrestler ever since. You may remember him as Damien Sandow. But he's now part of the new NWA, and that massive movement continues, although it's been interrupted, and we're going to get on with that. But, first of all, though, I have to mention, well, I should tell you who it is. It's Aron Stevens, who's right there. Aron, how are you?
I am excellent. How are you, Sean?
I'm good. I'm good. I have to start with this because it was just so funny that, folks, I got this message from Aron this morning, and it said, we're all scheduled for an interview, and he says, Sean, would 2:30 Eastern time work? There was an accident with one of the pigs. I have to fix the pen. I was like, I'm never getting rid of this. But tell me what happened?
Yeah, so I don't know if I've ever told this story publicly, but most people, especially like where I'm living now and everything, they think, oh, you move out west and it's all like the glitz and glamour, and then Malibu on top of that,
right.
Which is not exactly.
No, doesn't sound like
very
it.
Nice. It's beautiful. Love the West Coast, but I'm more of a Midwestern Southern guy. But again, for work, I'm out here. Life is very, very funny, twists and turns. So I ended up in Malibu with chickens and pigs and all kinds of stuff. Pigs are not my favorite animal. I was attacked by one as a child, and for years I've done my best to avoid them. But since being out here, I've kind of had to open up to some pigs. One in particular named Gilbert, who is a Vietnamese potbelly pig, I believe. And he, has problems with one of his hoofs, and he was overfed and everything. So the lady that is in charge of my acting career is a big time animal rescue. So there's all kinds of animals, but the pig was rescued by her. And Gilbert is kept in a pen, right? There's a fenced in area like you would see, like a horse fence, right? Or cattle or things like that, right? There's a giant fenced in area. Then there is one caged in area, like a dog kennel, but it's a very big one. And then in the dog kennel, there's a little house that Gilbert goes in, right?
Yeah.
And he limps along and everything, but very, very good animal. 3 other pigs were in need of rescue, and I tell you what, Sean, I call these the hell hogs because they are the worst. I mean, anything they can do to destroy something or like inflict trauma on another pig, they do. Like the 3 of them, they gang up on Gilbert.
Really?
It was terrible. So like we have to keep them in separate pens, and they were defecating in Gilbert's cage. Like they would go over to his cage and then like aim and just it was terrible, and it was really, really becoming an issue. So I was asked to go and help put another barrier around Gilbert's cage so the pigs can't, the 3 hell hogs can't get at Gilbert. So that was
are these all potbelly pigs? All of them?
Gilbert is a Vietnamese potbelly. I don't know what the 3 others are, but they're
just
terrible.
They're just nasty, a nasty gang.
I mean, you bring them when the first day, I believe it was Bill went and just bit Gilbert right in the ear. We had to have a vet come to the house. It was awful. It was
awful. Well, God, I hope Gilbert's okay. Is Gilbert okay? Is he?
He's fine now. I mean, I think he appreciates the thing, and the good thing is he gets to roam around the yard now. Whereas the 3 pigs, they only get the freedom of the pen.
They're locked down.
So but you know what? That's a hazard to the job. And Gilbert's actually really cool. He doesn't root in the grass or anything. He just kind of stays in his area, and that's it. So yeah.
Boy, a nasty triple tag team threat. It sounds like with the
terrible. They're like the
nasty pigs next door. You and we should mention you're out in Los Angeles now, continuing your acting career. And folks, we were scheduled to talk a couple of weeks ago, and you had a part that came along out there in Hollywood. I don't know. Can you tell us about it, or is that still something?
That was like a last minute thing. That was on NBC show. I don't know if I can say what it is right now,
Okay.
because again, everything was so last minute. But I will definitely keep you guys updated on that. That was actually really, really cool. And that was like right before everything kind of shut down. But yeah, so that was really, really, it's so strange, right? How out here, it's so akin to the wrestling business where if, plans fall through and then, you've seen this 1,000 times, someone doesn't make the building, well, then who's going to take his spot? And it really was kind of like that.
Really?
So, yeah, and we talked about this last time on the interview that never aired because of the connection and everything. Yeah, how like pro wrestling is such a great
background
preparation tool. For acting, because with wrestling you have everything plus live audience, so you just got to be ready for anything and be ready at a moment's notice. So it kind of has been awesome how the two have paralleled, and it's actually been, once I've kind of gotten the groove of things out here, which took a minute, a pretty easy and fun transition. So
yeah. Well, and you mentioned that about the talent that comes along with that with professional wrestling, and I think a lot of times when wrestlers do get the opportunity to act, I think they surprise a lot of people because, first of all, they don't realize that you're memorizing, and we can call it like monologues in a sense, where you're going 2-3 minutes, even longer, in front of a live audience, where if something goes wrong, you adapt immediately. And I mean, I think the training for it is tremendous. And also, I mean, I hope this was a meaty role and we get to see it soon, but that's fantastic. And it turned into be more than one. I think at first it was like a little bit, and then you said it was.
Yeah, then it turned out to be a little more, and so yeah, that was cool. But and I find that's the case a lot of the times. Like on one of the other shows, it was also for NBC, it was Midnight Texas, where I was playing a demon, and then that was going to turn into something else, and that was going to be like, that would have been the equivalent to the big break, but of course the show got canceled. So it was, but hey, all's well that ends well. You move on, and you just got to adapt. So I've had some other opportunities, like with Magnum. That was definitely a good thing back at the end of 2019, and that was like the first like guest star spot I did, which was awesome. And in Hawaii, not the worst place. So yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, and all the way around, and this kind of, I mean, transitioning what we're experiencing right now, and I'm sure it's affecting Hollywood and actors out there that a lot of our independent wrestlers, and that's what most of them are. They're independent contractors, and right now with what we're experiencing with the coronavirus and the lockdowns, and people supposed to stay in their homes, and they're just afraid to have crowds together. It has decimated the independent wrestling business, all the business, but at least some of those guys, say with WWE and AEW, they have contractors, but there are thousands of wrestlers out there that work across the country right now who they're out of work, and they depend on this.
Yeah.
So how's it affecting you? And then also, a lot of the other guys out there that you've spoken to, how are they doing?
Everyone I've spoken to, it's very much of we're all in this together. Where everyone is kind of, it's on the same boat, right? And I think before with tragedies that we've seen and like, earth-shaking events, it's been more a regional thing, where globally, I mean, and this is just my view, where this is all across the board.
Yeah.
And everyone's worried this and that, and I do think that steps are being taken, and obviously this is being taken into consideration, by the government. This is not a political statement one way or another. We can all play armchair executive, right? Like we can all say, "Oh, I would have done this, this, and this," or but the fact, look, something's being done. We'll see if it works or not. Who knows? But we are all in this together is what I'm saying, right? Like this is something that is across the board. Like I'm very lucky. Like I've made some good financial decisions, and but the people that live from paycheck to paycheck,
and there's a lot of them.
Yeah, like I'm a single guy, have no kids or anything like that. That to me, like to think of the people with families and stuff like that. I've been, including them in my prayers, and you know what? I think if everyone's pitching in, I mean, and we've seen a lot of good too, right? Which my thing is, and I tend in these situations, I tend to be an optimist, which is, I don't know if it's the best thing, but I guess for my my own sanity it is, but like, yeah, it stinks what we're going through right now, right?
Yeah.
But on a positive, environmentally, look at what the Earth.
I know.
Wow, like they say how even scientists are surprised at how fast like the Earth is just healing.
Yeah.
There are people like I think it was. Don't quote me on this. Quote me on this. I'm saying it myself, but like I think it was the Texas Roadhouse CEO, like was donating like all of his earnings and bonuses to the workers or something like that.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of them that have done that, have stepped up. Yeah.
I mean, how amazing is that? And like everyone says, oh, it's corporate greed and this and that. And no, these are individuals that are really, they're doing everything they can. And like they're giving it of themselves. And I think like, why don't we report more on that?
Yeah.
No kidding. And yeah, there's a lot of cases and this is something that needs to be dealt with. But the fact that we're testing more now for it, like there's more reported cases because there's more testing and that's a good thing. And like, well, we can gather the data and then we act accordingly. And it's just, everyone doing little things, staying at home and, we're all making small sacrifices. And I think in the end, and here's my, my big statement on the state of the world, I think, and I hope that people will come out of this with and this goes from, politicians to, everyone.
Yeah.
With a little more compassion, with a little more sense of community, because we were actually becoming very socially isolated. It was weird, like the whole world was on the phone, and online and all. Now people are forced to say hi to each other. Now, if I go for a walk or something and I see someone, that people are more apt to say hi and smile.
Yeah.
And this is California, which isn't the friendliest state in the world.
Right.
So it can be, I think, a positive thing. We just, again, stay together and focus on the good, and also focus on eliminating the bad. Stay at home, wash your hands, you just take the precautions. And one of the things that was crazy to me was when I went to the store, when all this was going on, people are worried about toilet paper, right? Hoarding toilet paper. The shelves are stocked full of vitamin C, zinc, things to keep your immune system up. I'm going, wait a minute, we have
fruits and vegetables, like the fresh stuff. Is
something's wrong. But you know what? Again, hopefully we all learn. And honestly, the way the world was headed, like where people were just at odds with each other, now this can kind of be very, very healing in terms of both the planet and people and humanity. Where we become a little bit more compassionate. Maybe globally, do we all say, hey, wow, we need to really take better care of the earth?
Yeah.
And what if we just did smaller things? What if we went to and I don't want to say a 4-day work week, but if it was, hey, for 4 days you come in the office, we've learned how to work from home. 1 day you work from home. That just saves down on, the commute, emission, things like that. Little things. What if we did that? Who knows? Maybe this will also be a huge, huge push for cleaner energy. Because look, the way society was and was headed, and everyone pretty much agreed on it. It was like, we all kind of agreed it, but nobody was doing anything about it. And I think this could maybe really kind of just coax us to be that change. We all change a little bit, and we all just are a little bit nicer. We all are a little bit more environmentally conscious. We all realize we don't need as much as we have, right? I think, if you're planning out your food for 2 weeks, that's not something that Americans did.
Yeah.
Right. So like we eat a lot, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Trust me. No one loves buffets more than me, but just a little more conscious across the board. And I think if we all kind of keep that focus on healing while we're eradicating the problem, we'll come out of this stronger and better for it.
Yeah. No, and you're exactly right. And I think what's hard, the most hard for people is that if we knew that, okay, it's going to last 2 months or another 6 weeks, then you can say, okay, this is what I'm going to need. But we have no idea at this point. Yeah. And until we get those answers and say, okay, now we're on the other end of this, we're seeing the models of what's happened in the other countries. And once they get to this point, then we're good. Yeah. Then we can start, going back to our lives. But at the same time, like you pointed out, I hope to God we learn from this, because like you said, even in where I am, and I'm sure where you are, especially God in California, when you see not so many cars on the road, in a big way, And it's kind of freaky to go, where is everybody? But at the
Yeah.
same time, you're thinking, wow, this is great, because not only what is it doing for the environment, but if you got half the cars on the road, you're going to have half the car accidents.
Yeah.
Fewer people are going to be killed on the
Yeah.
roads. It just goes on and on.
Yeah.
And I hope we learned something from this, from, like you said, maybe a 4-day work week, but why not have somebody come in 2 days a week? Because I think we're finding you can accomplish a lot. I know they did a study about, all these offices are doing teleconference meetings in the morning, which they do. I work at a news station in the morning. I do a morning show, and they do a meeting twice a day. And now everybody's doing it through teleconference, because they've sent, all the reporters are working out of their homes. They go out and do the story and whatever. But they found across the board that these meetings are lasting like half as long as they did.
Wow.
Because you're on the phone, you get your point across, you're not socializing. And I think we're going to find you can be a lot more efficient.
Yeah.
And then my other point of it, and we'll move on and actually talk about other things in the world, but getting connected to your family. I mean, why do we do all this? It's not whether, if you're married or you have kids, but everybody's connected to their own community. And yet we take it for granted that, when's the last time you talked to a guy that was one of your best friends that for years, and 2 years slip by, you haven't talked to him? It's not that you not care for him or care for that person anymore, but we get caught up in our world and get that grind going, and next thing you know, it's 3 years later. Or when do we actually get in touch with them? When something really bad happens, they lose somebody close to them, and so I hope that we come out of this with that in mind, of going, what the hell really is important? Is anybody really going to care, that you were involved in this great pay-per-view that, whatever, had the greatest numbers ever, or you were the tag team champion, or I got to broadcast during this crisis? No, I mean, you're contributing, you're entertaining, but what's really going to matter? The time you got to spend with your family, your friends, that if you don't have that, you got nothing. So I hope that we do come out of that with that in mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's so funny, because when we had first spoken, I was back home for like 3 months, back with the family and everything. And it was weird. It was like I was using a chainsaw and an axe and just doing all kinds of stuff with my uncles, and, hanging out with my parents, and, really spending time with people like my cousin, everyone like that. And, I was so glad, because it was years, like even, since leaving WWE, it was like, I left WWE and then came out here, and I would go home and everything, but I never really got to just relax and say, you know what, I'm just going to be here, be now, and really just appreciate and reconnect, really reconnect with my family. And I did that. And you know what, it was like the best decision I made, because I cannot remember the last time I just was home and relaxed and not worried about something. And where do I have to be next, or what am I doing? Or it was just nice. And that to me was really, really cool. And now I think, if the world is kind of looking at that now and kind of maybe going through the same thing, it's great, because like the sense of peace you have after, and it does change you as a person, like your perspective on everything. So
and there's no other business. I mean, there are other businesses, but there's no business really at that level, because you've got to strike when you can. If you're riding a wave, you got to keep going, because like I said, you don't know when it's going to end. You could get hurt one night somewhere, and then laid you up even for a year or even longer, and then that's over. So, guys will keep working, they keep sacrificing. And I remember back in the day when the WWF was doing all those live events every night, and these guys would be on the road, for weeks and weeks at a time, and they lost entire families. Even if they were still together, they lost any kind of connection to them. And you see, great example, Davey Boy Smith, who died at 39, and Harry, his son, and Georgia with his children, who never really got to know him, except this guy would show up and be home for a few days. And that's like a hole that never heals. And the point of it all is that folks really take the time and have it stay with you. What's really important. I hope we come out of that. You mentioned being home, and we'll start there, because a lot of people have always wondered, where you started, and from Massachusetts, up in Worcester, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, North Oxford, which is about 10 miles south of Worcester.
Worcester,
So
yeah, got to say it right.
Yeah, Worcester. We're saying it like that. It's weird. Like I've lost my Massachusetts accent since.
Yeah, but when you hung home, when you were at home, did it kick back in? Being around everybody?
No, because they were like, why do you talk funny? Like, you know what I mean? It's weird. Like, no, you guys are the ones that. So yeah, it never did. It was weird. Like when I moved to Louisville, I
can't get there from here.
I was really, young when I moved there. It just kind of went away. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, be in different places. But anyway, that's what. Give us a little background. I mean, what it was like where you grew up, and then how you're an athlete, and you must have been interested in acting back then too, because it's kind of all part of this. How did it all come together?
So I was a kid, and I was in the department store with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And you remember those old school arcade games, the big giant ones?
Oh yeah.
Like, and in the department store, and I remember this vividly. I was about 5, and there was like 2 or 3 arcade games. And the thing is, if I was to behave myself in the store, I could go play one of the games. So she gives me a quarter, I put it in, and it just happened to be a wrestling game. And I was so young, I didn't really know how to play or anything. I was just pressing buttons.
Big buttons, yeah.
And the thing, it beat me and it taunted me. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be a wrestler. Like, screw that guy.
I'm getting even with this
weird.
machine.
It was a red mask with a white star on it, and like he was like ha ha ha. He was like laughing at me and stuff. To this day, if I ever saw the game, I'd probably smash it with a sledgehammer and say ha ha, I won. But no, that was like right then and there. I just kind of knew. I'm like, all right, looks like I'm going to be a pro wrestler, and it never really went away. Like I did martial arts when I was a kid for years, which stopped at about 17 because pro wrestling was more. Because I started training with Kowalski at 16. I finagled my way in there with my buddy.
Folks, he's brushing over that as in Killer Kowalski. He trained with. So pick it up from there. How did that happen?
So my buddy and I went to an independent wrestling show, and there was we knew Kowalski had a school, right? We knew that was the one, but we were like 16. Tony Atlas was there. I asked Tony Atlas how to be a pro wrestler. He said, I'm going to introduce you to the Boston bad boy Tony Rumble. Met Tony Rumble. He's like, hang out after the show. I'm going to introduce you to Walter. And Kowalski wasn't even advertised. We were like, whoa, really, what? So, all right, I guess we're going to hang out. Walter came out and did a big presentation at the show. We hang out afterwards. He takes us behind this little aisle, and it was a Southbridge High School gymnasium.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget, it was like kind of snowing. There was one neon orange light. You just saw the silhouette of Killer. And we talked to him. He gave us his number. A couple months later, went up to the school to check it out. My buddy, who was like also interested in like more music and stuff like that, kind of said, no, I think I'm going to do this. I ended up going and staying, and I was 16. So like my parents had to sign a permission slip and everything. And, Dad was excited. Mom was tentative. But, the thing is, you keep your grades up and you can do it. So I did. And, I would go there once a week on Sundays and just start learning. Just start learning. And that was it. And I it was weird too, because in high school I was a bigger kid, and I went to a Catholic high school, Holy Name, which sadly, Holy Name is merging with St. Peter's. And if anyone out there from the Diocese of Worcester is listening to this, Holy Name won that war because of Mr. Reynolds, and it is a shame that they are not keeping, because they're using Holy Name's campus. Mr. Reynolds, when the diocese took a hit and all the Catholic schools were in trouble, Mr. Reynolds kept Holy Name afloat, self-sufficient. He put a windmill up there. It's awesome. And it should be Holy Name High School, and Mr. Reynolds should be the headmaster. That's all I'm saying. That's my little soapbox for the day. But I owe that to Mr. Reynolds, and I'm publicly stating that Mr. Reynolds made Holy Name what it is, and he's invaluable to the diocese. So, sorry, I digress.
That's okay. I love who influenced your life. I mean, that's obviously that Mr. Reynolds did.
No, Mr. Reynolds didn't. No, and the thing was, he was my English teacher. So, funny thing about Mr. Reynolds, right? It was his first year at Holy Name when it was my class's first year. So he was our class advisor, and I had him every single year, for English, study hall, whatever. And it was, and I actually, a minimum, served 1 detention with him every semester my entire high school career, which I got to know him pretty well. And to this day, we're friends. But he was all, he was very supportive actually because I played basketball, I played football in high school, but like it was just like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this just to whatever, and I really want to wrestle, and I'm going to wrestle.
Yeah.
Mr. Reynolds was always very supportive of that, and when I took on the persona, the intellectual savior of the masses, I don't think anyone was more proud of that persona than him, because he shaped the Damien Sandow character. So a lot of the $5 words, they were from Mr. Reynolds.
Yeah. Well, when did because I was going to ask this later on when you got to the WWE, but when did that superior, condescending persona kind of come to you to say, hey, you know what, this works for me? That and that heel kind of, because that's something that would weave in and out of your career. But that's kind of the the big point of your characters, that you always kind of the superior and looking down on people, and you just don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
So was that? I mean, it sounds like it was starting to be shaped then.
You know what? It was. And it's funny that we're talking about this because we did not touch on this last time, and I never really made this mental connection. That little rant I went on about high school. When I started wrestling, right, I was, again, 16, and I went from being one of the biggest kids and, physically. So, do you get me? Is that right?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, yeah. So, so I went from, again, being a little bit more physically advanced than most. I was a little bigger and could kind of had better control of my body than a lot of people. Yeah. To like, okay, now, but I'm still 16 years old. Now I'm in with grown men. And,
right.
The difference between a 16-year-old and even a 21-year-old is astronomical.
Vast,
like
yes.
25, 26, that's that was a hard way to go, but it was a great learning experience. It definitely made me mentally any challenge that I know what the challenge is, and this is a task at hand, go do it, get through it no matter what, which kind of helped shape me later on in life and later on in my career in different things. But the whole point, right, was to learn the moves, right? I wanted to learn how to lock up and hip toss and do all this crazy stuff. But I was always drawn to the wrestling business because of the theatrical elements, like when you get to make a ring entrance and your music and the people. And then I would actually kind of play the part of a heel in high school just to do it. And a lot of people, like, they thought I was just being a bit of an ass, which I guess I was, but it was just to get that reaction from people. And it was to like, it was very much like the intellectual savior to some degree. I mean, not that I was I was always, I tried to get along with everybody. And like I made, we all made a mistake in high school. We we were figuring out the world. And actually, Holy Name was such a wonderful high school because of like the people there. Like, they really took a great approach to, like, if you were in trouble for something, yes, you got detentions and demerits and all that stuff, but you learned why.
Yeah, there's a lesson behind it.
Yeah. And that I think separates Holy Name from other high schools, which is why Holy Name should remain, but that's sorry. But no, it was great. So like I would do it just enough to get a reaction out of people, I guess, right? It was just enough like pompousness to be like, why are you doing that? Because they knew that really wasn't me, but the fact that I was doing it anyway. Like, I remember running for class president just so I could cut a promo in front of everybody because I didn't want to win
believe that.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to be class president. Like Evan was doing a wonderful job. All right, I'm going to practice my promo skills, and I had the microphone, I had an audience. Do it. That's it.
Went for. Nailed it.
So
right.
It was very much a. I guess it was the precursor to the intellectual savior. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then you stayed the course. When did it get serious, though? When did I don't know if the Kowalski connection really helped you, but you got noticed pretty much right away once you got into the professional ranks.
Yeah, I was very, very lucky. I did about 5 years there, so I did that while I was in college, and then while I was in college, I think it was the end of my junior year. There was a camp with Dr. Tom Pritchard, and Doc, he noticed me and like called me right after that. And, he was kind of the talent scout and kind of running the developmental system at the time. he just pretty much was like, yeah, here's what we want to do, and I want to start bringing you around to more TV tapings, get people used to you. So for my senior year of college, I did pretty much Raw and SmackDown whenever they were in the area. I mean, if it was in like 3 hours, because I remember going to New York and everything like that, which extras didn't do, but Doc was just like, just go on there. And like, I remember like unsigned talent, I would get my own entrance on like Sunday Night Heat. They'd like play music. It was really kind of cool.
Wow.
And then
who's this guy?
Yeah. And then graduated and finished up 4 years, and then went to Louisville. I got the call, and that was it.
What was your major?
Urban studies, which is a combination of
urban. Of all the things you're getting into, I would have thought theater or something.
Yeah.
Urban studies.
Although I did take a couple theater classes, but
the
professor was a little whacked. And I just said, you know what? I want to learn about the theater. I don't really want to be doing some kind of interpretive dance thing, which actually helped me out later on in life, because I did an interpretive dance and the WWE in that flesh-colored leotard with the string and the ribbon. So it's weird, right? Like all my very eclectic life.
Yeah, it's funny how it all fits together, right?
Yeah, and it is funny because even like within the wrestling business, like I'm actually, it's weird. People joke about me a lot. Like they say like they've known me for years, but they don't know anything about me. And I do have a smaller circle of people that I'm really close with than normal. But the people I'm really tight with, like they know me, and like they know the eclectic life that I've led. It's been very, very strange at some points. I mean, and again, like, yes, Malibu, California, and I'm dealing with pigs. Like that's just kind of how my life has gone, and it's even out in
and nasty pigs at that, heel pigs,
the hell hogs.
That's right. Yep. Well, and that's that is like a theme through your life, though. That kind of you're like you live this reactionary life. I think is maybe one way to put it, because you see when you're out there doing promos. I know you go out there with an idea, but I can see you're clicking. The brain's clicking. You seize on things that you see that come your way, and then they become a part of it, a part of what you're doing. You know that we have seen with the NWA recently, with everything with the Mongrovian martial arts and the extended belt that you've got. That's got
it's
the
degrees. World's longest 3rd-degree black belt, and I mean, I was hoping to have a Guinness. The representative from the Guinness Book of World Records there at the pay-per-view we were going to have in April, because it was going to be, officially the largest 3rd-degree black belt in the world. But hey, you know what? There's still time.
There's still, absolutely.
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, but we get ahead here, because I do want to talk about that period with the WWE, because it was a huge development of your not just a great part of your career, but how you developed and the opportunities you got there, and you made the most of them. And going in, and I think that it's a lesson to all who go to get an opportunity like that, is you may get that foot in the door, but boy, you got to do something once you get through. And I think a lot get there and say, okay, what are you going to do with me? You obviously were not like that. You were, as I just said, you look for things and you grab them in that opportunity. So we saw that, with the Sandow character, and then also becoming with the Miz, that whole, and was that what it was really, once you got in there, was that your mindset? You weren't going to wait for them to come with you with stuff, say, this is what we've got for you? Or what was your mindset when you did get that chance?
Yeah. And I think, there's two sides to every coin. The answer lies somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Where they provided me, like anyone I've ever worked for, they provided me a stage, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you really think about this, and I am not a fan of overproducing. But then when you have people, and again, nowadays, and this isn't a knock on anybody, but when you have people at a certain level of experience that have only been doing this maybe 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Now, there are extremely talented people in every company, right?
Yeah.
But when you've only been doing this 5 years, you do not grasp everything about this. Like back in the day, right? In WWF, when you were there, Sean, people wrestled 10, 15 years before getting a shot there.
Yeah.
So when you came to the, New York, you were seasoned. You knew what to do. Like, they'd give you character and stuff, but like, you knew what was going on.
Right.
Like in terms of how to execute. All right, this is what the gimmick is and whatever. There's a lot of people that just don't have that. So I think you do need writers, but there are also some people who, like, look, I can recite things verbatim.
Yeah.
All right, I can
give you a sheet of paper. Yeah, you'll get it.
But if the whole point of the promo is for me to get people to buy the pay-per-view, right, to further an angle with me and whoever, whatever it is, okay, that's the name of the game. And also, this is very important too, which a lot of people don't get. If you have 2 minutes for it, get the message across in the time allotted, and don't break any FCC regulations or any in-house regulations.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So it's like, you're keeping it within the margins of what you have to do in both time and content. But if you can just say it your own way, fine. And it's those little moments with me where, and I was very, very lucky. One of the things I will say, and again, I try to, if I don't have anything nice to say, I don't say it. So, but this is something that is positive about Vince. Pretty much from the time I got there, if a writer wrote me something, and there are some very good writers there, and there were some very good writers there. But like, I would look at it and I'm like, no, I'm not feeling this one. I would go to him, and not bother him, but hey, boss, could I say it like this? And it didn't happen very often.
Yeah.
But he said, no, just hit your time and go ahead. Like, he was very, very, very good with me going on his show, because it is his show, regardless of what you think.
Oh yeah.
And having a little bit of leeway to kind of convey the message, like I'd wanted to. And in some of the promos, when it is verbatim and it's not the words, you see it, and it just comes across as just not very good.
Not working. Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of the when I have, because recently, since coming back to wrestling, and this isn't a knock on anybody, and I'm not even going to mention a particular company, but there are very few people who are actually truly over. There are amazing talents. They do moves that I can't even pronounce. But when you really watch, like when their music hits, all right, you get the pop. Some of them, and some of it's not really even a pop. Like, I remember when I watched like Ronnie or R-Truth.
Yeah.
He is over, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like fans genuinely are, okay, cool. This is our guy. We're happy to see him. We know him, right? And he knows how to stay over. There's just a lot of people that they put the emphasis on it. So they think like, I'm going to have the coolest tights and I'm going to do my moves and this and that. That ain't what works.
No,
like,
you got to tell a story. You got to give them a reason. Yeah. Like they say, you got to give them a reason to care.
Yes.
That's what it comes down to.
If a heel is getting heat, it's like, there's not that like earth shattering, like where they're pounding and, the whole arena's shaking and, you hear the stomping and everything. A babyface hits a finish. And look, if it's a great, awesome finish, they'll pop for the move. But then when the 1, 2, 3 happens, no one cares. They're like, oh yeah, all right. And that, to me, that's the worst thing. That, like, that's not what this is about, in my opinion. This is about connecting with a character, right? Whether it's in a good way or a bad way. And then once you have that emotional investment, I think that's why, I'm sorry if I'm talking too much here, but like when you were going back to the Sandow thing, like what worked, right? What worked initially was I managed to, because WWE gave me the platform, I managed to connect with the audience. And then, see, one of the things they never did with me was repackage me, if you noticed, right? Like sometimes they'd have guys, they do a gimmick, they go off TV,
right,
and then they repackage them and bring them back. I never was off TV. Like the transition from Intellectual Savior to Mizdow to Randy Savage, really, that was like linear.
Yeah.
The whole
it was still the same character, just transitioned to situations, I think, more.
Yeah.
Like how that person or that character would act in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
So it was like, to me, you have that initial connection. Once that connection's made, it's very, very tough. And when I say connection, once like the genuine connection's made, to where whether you're at the Staples Center in LA or in like Duluth, when like to me, when they hear hallelujah, there's that, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before you come out.
Right.
And then you can just kind of play with that. And it literally like it's a relationship that's very, very tough to break if it's genuine. Because again, like, you know, when they say, oh, The Office is trying this with me, where they had me dress up as someone new every week when I was having a nervous breakdown on TV.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was like part of my, you know, the breakdown of Damien Sandow, when a lot of people would view that as a negative, and a lot of people have that exact same gimmick, have viewed it as a negative in career suicide. I was like, okay, well, you know what? The good thing is, because a lot of the Sandow character I got from one of my college professors who was so smart, he was crazy, as they would say, to put it nicely.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, well, yeah, if I'm so intellectual that I think, you know, it's now gone from intellectual superiority to a delusion of grandeur, to where, like, no, if I think it must be right because I'm superior to everybody. And it's it was a cool transaction, I thought. So
well,
transition, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but and
I'm
when
sorry,
you,
I should shut the TV off. There was a little a commercial that I was interested in. I'm so sorry.
you're like me. My wife won't let me sit. We go to a bar or something. She's like, "No, TV's over there. You have to switch sides." Because I'll be like talking, all of a sudden, yeah. I mean, I can't help it. It's like but anyway. But on that subject though, let's talk about and we did talk about this last time about that Damien Mizdow character, and it was supposed to be kind of like a one-off, but again, because I think you had established that character, whatever, and they're like, okay, I want to go along for the ride, whatever it's going to do here, and it worked, and then you were able to. I mean, they're not stupid. I mean, Vince knows if it works, why are we going away from it? Let's just ride it and see what happens. And that was another example.
Yeah,
with that character, right? That you guys, wasn't it supposed to be just, okay, we'll just do this one thing because it sounds like a great idea. And then what made it keep going?
Yeah. No, it was supposed to be a one-off because I was bouncing around dressing up as I was like Abraham Lincoln. I was an astronaut. I was Lance Stevens. I mean, it got crazy. I was Davy Crockett. It got weird there for a minute. But you know, also like they put me with Miz, and Miz is somebody that you know, creatively they've always had something for Miz, and which is a very smart idea. I think Miz is, again, one of the best heels that they have, and again, great attitude, great guy, and it's smart to do that with Miz. And so they're like, okay, let's see. It was 1 week with Miz. All right, maybe a second week, and I was supposed to be like the heater, you know what I mean? So I was the stunt double, and then we were together. I think it was a couple weeks, and I was on Raw, and I was bored. I literally was bored on Raw, and I forget who he was doing, but I'm like, what would a stunt? All right, I'm gonna just study. I'm gonna like make believe like I'm a studying actor, like an understudy almost.
Right. You're a method actor.
Yeah. So he went to go put a figure 4 on someone, and I'm like, you know what? Who cares? And I went and I just put the figure 4 on the ground, and like the camera just caught me doing it, and I'm like, oh, all right. And then it was Tyson Kidd, who was like, Sandow, did you put the figure 4 on the Invisible Man? I went, yep. And he popped for it. So, which is, if you're not familiar with what a pop is he was amused by it. He laughed at it. So, and I know you are, Sean. I'm talking, you know, we're talking to the general audience here. But so next week I'm like, all right, I'm gonna see if I can pop him again. So when Miz took, I think it was a back elbow or clothesline, I just took a bump, came up and sell it, and then I go to the back, and Vince was sitting there, and he had his glasses on the end of his nose, and I get to come here. Now, I've never been one of those people, like, after my match, I don't go to him and, did you see it? No, I like go, and he'll either give me a thumbs up or a nod, or if he says nothing because he's busy and he's doing a live TV show, that's great. I've gotten to come here twice, and it was for positive things, which I was like, oh, okay. This time, I was sure that, like, oh my God, you just
what the hell was that? Kind of
you just disgraced my business. And he goes, whatever you just did, keep doing. If I need to pull you back, I will. But pretty much like gave me a green light to do that. And I remember looking at him, I went, you sure? He goes, yep. Did not talk to the man for about 9 months.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It worked. That's
really,
because it worked, right?
and that's the thing. It's like, and guys with
Yeah.
him, and I didn't get to know him as well as people thought I knew him. It was very strange, right? Because everyone would go and they'd tell, they were like afraid of him, and they like try to kowtow, and like every week, oh, hey, you see this, Vince? You see this, Vince? And with me, it wasn't like that. The man's a CEO. He's got a live TV show. He's got a million things. As a performer, my best communication with him is when I'm out in the ring. What is the live audience doing, and what are the ratings? And and I thought,
What
like,
it comes down
because
to.
I've always watched both. They've always been very positive. In my case, I've been very lucky. But like that to me, I'm like, look, I can't do anything more than that. I don't fail drug tests. I don't embarrass the company. Every time I do media, the attendance has gone up in every town I've done that with, because I compare the numbers. Just because I was curious to see like where I felt and like my weaknesses and things like that. So that to me, like, I try to let that speak for itself, as opposed to me trying to go and, because it's annoying, man. I would think that would really be annoying when everyone just kind of wants it. And the same thing with Hunter. I talked to Hunter a little bit more. But it's just like, do your job, do it to the best of your ability, and be as low maintenance of a talent as possible.
Yeah, that's good. You're talking about how that relationship worked, and there's super talents there. We've seen people just incredible
Sean, I'm
talent.
with Justice here. I think my phone is hang on.
Still look good right there. It's good.
Are we hang on. Okay, let's make sure we're. Oh yeah, good. We're charging. We're good. We're in good shape. So,
okay.
There we go.
But you talk about talent and the level of talent. There's a lot of very, very talented people that have been in the WWE and continue to be. One of those along the way was Dusty Rhodes' son, Cody, who we've seen. Things are working out for him a little bit right now. But back then, and you had the chance, you teamed up with him. You were the Rhodes Scholars. Mm-hmm. Why did it not work for him there? Was it them not giving him that outlet, or maybe he was waiting more for them to give him more direction? Why do you think it, at least from your opinion, you were around him, because now we've seen him really come into his own, but back then, what was going on?
You know what? That's actually a really good question. I never thought about that. I think Cody was very successful there. Cody was one of those people who managed to get people to care about him every night. And had, from a very grassroots perspective, because he was there a long time, had gone out, done everything he could. And I think, though, we can agree the Cody now is a far bigger star than the Cody in WWE. Not that he wasn't a star there.
No, but it just he could have stayed there for a long, long time, but he just never, and because maybe it was just maturity, coming into your own, realizing your own confidence. I don't know. But what do you think?
Sean, you know what? Sometimes they just don't give you the shot. And, I can speak on personal experience. Like, there's that glass ceiling. I absolutely, and I'm not saying, look, I haven't been there in a while, so I don't know what the place is like now. But based on everything I say about WWE is just based on my personal experience, right? Absolutely a glass ceiling. And I think for Cody, he needed what happened. He needed to go and really go full tilt, and do what he felt he needed to do, and it's worked out, and I think it's great. Yeah. It was weird when I left. I kind of my interest in wrestling just went, almost went away. And it did go away, I think, for a while. Yeah. But with Cody, it was the opposite. He was re-energized because he didn't know what it was like. And I think it's wonderful. I think what he's done, and what everyone involved in AEW, it's a new dimension of the wrestling business. It changes the game, and I think that's awesome. And I think, Dusty, above all people, I don't think I know. There's no one more proud of Cody than him.
Yeah, and you have to admire him for what he did at the time, because he could have ridden that, remained under contract, probably made a lot of money, been kind of gotten these little pushes here and there along the way, but he basically walked away and started over and determined, I guess, really to make a name for himself. And I don't think anybody has an issue admitting that now, that he really is. I mean, certainly there's a connection to his dad, but he is a superstar all on his own, from what he's been able to do. And guys, has started an entire new movement with AEW. Absolutely. So But others may not have would have taken that chance. So I really admire him for that.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And then,
See.
and I'm the same way. We're like, a paycheck is nice, but at what cost?
Yeah.
It's great getting a WWE paycheck, but with me, after the WrestleMania thing with Shaq, I knew I was done, and I went to them and I said, "Please let me out of my contract."
And why did you know you were done?
Because I was told to go out there, not to show personality.
Oh.
Right. I go out there, and it was WrestleMania. They hadn't seen me on TV in months, and I show up. They start, 100,000 people started coming up. Shaq threw me out. They booed Shaq, and I go to the back, and it was like no one could look me in the eye. And that's.
But how did it get to that point though? Before, I mean, like you said, you saw it coming, and it probably for a long period of time. How did it get to that point where it did start to wane like that?
I have no idea.
Huh.
And that, see,
because you were over everywhere you went.
Yeah,
you were over all the time.
What happened?
Yeah.
And they just asked me that, like, what happened? What is the deal? I don't even know, Sean. I mean, I'll be very honest with you. I have no known enemies that I'm aware of. I've always tried to treat people with respect, and I really never had an issue with anybody in the WWE, both administratively and in the locker room. And I've gone above and beyond the call of duty. Like I don't know. And, when the WrestleMania thing happened, because there was an incident at the Royal Rumble where I was out there at the pre-show. That was the only WrestleMania and the pre-show to the Rumble were the only times I was on TV, I think, that last year. And, they were chanting my name the whole match. It was like a 6-way tag, the Dudleys and Mark Henry was in there or something. But like the whole time they were just, and then I got to the back, ghosted. And then when WrestleMania happened, I was like, look, I can stay here and probably get a paycheck and, but I don't want that. So I went to one of the people in the office and said, hey, could you let me out of my contract, please? I am not happy here, and I don't think we're doing ourselves any favors. And for about, I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks, like you get the run around and, it's just, it's funny. Like I often wonder if that was just, the way the corporations are structured, right?
Yeah.
But then to me, it's like, just look me in the eye and tell me, you know what I mean? Just be honest with me. But again, and that's nothing against people who blew me off or couldn't give me a straight answer.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, they released me, so that's fine. And that was cool. And maybe I was going to be released anyway. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But it was like, I specifically was bothering them to like, hey, I'm not happy here. Like, this isn't good. And I was just in a very bad place in my life because of my work situation. And that was like one of the lessons I had learned. And I'd come out of the whole thing was I will never equate myself to what I do for a living again, because,
right.
I eventually, and it took a while, but I came out of this with a greater sense of who I am, much more grounded, a new perspective on the world. And again, never letting a job dictate who I am or how I feel about myself. So that was the positive. When we're talking about turning all negatives into positives, even with the world situation, that was a positive that came out of that. And I can honestly say in the long run, it's been a great, great thing.
Yeah. And you said when you left, it had almost, killed your interest in wrestling. And, when you're not feeling you're being productive and creative, that can take a toll. So when you walked away from that, where did you channel it? Because you needed to get away from it. Was it the acting? Is that what really started that, when you started to pursue that?
Yeah, it was kind of like said, okay, I'm going to go do the acting thing now, and tried that. And then had to kind of like floundered around for a few months and just different. Hollywood's it was a new water to me. It was like with me, I'm like, okay, I'm going to jump both feet without a safety net. You know what I mean? Or I guess jump both feet without a safety net. Jump into the pool in the deep end without a life preserver and just see. So there was a bit of like just kind of figuring things out. And look, I'm still figuring things out, but I was very, very fortunate to have some very good people come into my life and really, really help me. And again, I've had to learn things, how to be patient and how to kind of, just adjust to that, because with wrestling, you have to be somewhere all the time.
Yeah.
And then with acting, it's like your phone rings and, hey, you're going to be in New Mexico for 3 weeks. You're going to be in Hawaii for a month. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. But then it could be a month or two without the phone ringing.
Yeah.
So it's a little more sporadic, but again, I've been very, very lucky in terms of the people that are kind of like help me out in my career now, where they know like this is the plan, this is what we're going to do, and it's just it's been a very, very positive thing, and again, it's always like every time I've kind of not known what's next, something comes in, and that's like the you know we said the eclectic nature of my life. That's kind of that's what lends itself to having that kind of a life, is just being open to anything, and at the same time, like things just kind of happening and working out, and so it's not always the way I wanted, believe me, but in a lot of cases, like things really do kind of work out for the best. So yeah,
it's been a hell of a ride too.
Yeah.
But what brought you back though? What got you back into wrestling? Was it the opportunity with the NWA, and we'll kind of transition into that conversation and what Billy Corgan has done. But what was it that got you back? That you said, did you miss it and want to, or did the opportunity knock again?
Well, I'd always, when I was at Impact, Billy and I had, we developed a friendship, and we'd always kind of stay in contact, even when I was out here and just away from the business completely. And then when the NWA was starting up, I was reached out to, and I said, you know what? Yeah. Cause I'd gone, it was July, up to Battle Arts Academy in Toronto with Santino, who's a very good buddy of mine.
Yeah.
And I just spent like a month up there, and like I said, I wonder if I can still wrestle, and I see if I can fall down and get back up. And like did a quick thing there, and I'm like, wow, this is like I was kind of amazed that like I thought I would. They say ring rust and everything.
Yeah, right.
And now, granted, I didn't go do pay-per-view matches my first day back, but I was like, oh, okay, you don't forget this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, after doing it for so long, your body kind of adjusts. And it was about a month after that, NWA reached out and everything. I said, you know what? Yeah, okay. Let's see. Because again, it was Billy too. And Billy has always been nothing but, a man of his word, and just creatively has been the best person I've ever worked with creatively. And I can honestly say that in terms of giving direction, giving freedom, but then adding ideas, and just like it's just awesome to be able to work with him. And he's like, yeah, this is going to be old school and this and that. And I'm like, okay. And I was still like, okay, wrestling show, whatever. But I remember when I walked into that the first time, like the day, because I got there early, like the day before the tapings, and I remember going in, and then when I saw the studio, I just was like, okay, I get it. Here we go. Like it's so funny because everyone thinks, back in the day, wrestling was this and that, it was better. And I think NWA, they are the first company to actually say, okay, you think like this era was better and all. Here we go. We're going to go there. We're going to give you, this is studio wrestling. We got the desk. This is the format of the show. Now, granted, it's a fresh coat of paint. It's updated. It would be like what studio wrestling was if it never went away.
Yeah.
But it's still that old school template. And it's working. Like you cannot deny the success of NWA. And, in retrospect, I think the best decision I made of 2019 was to be a part of NWA. And you know what? I'm actually honored that, Billy and Dave and all the people there reached out to me. So that was, I feel very fortunate to be able to work with all them.
And also that collection of people. And I've had conversation with Dave Lagana and how, when they were putting it together, and I said, when you were doing this, you had to get it right off from the beginning. You had to have a great collection. And I was just so fascinated by how they put this roster together and how it fit so well together. You had very unique guys. They had to be able to be great in front of a camera. That's a very intimate setting.
Yes.
You got to be good at it. And you got to be able to still, perform well in the ring. And every one of these guys they brought in, from Nick, and you and Tim Storm and James and, and the women, Thunder Rosa and, everybody. And I don't know if they got lucky or they just, could tell that, this person is right for this. And I want, what's your impression of that, what they were able to do with that roster right away?
No, that was like after the first set of tapings, I was amazed because I was like, wow, like that in particular, like this locker room and, you know, a bunch of us had known each other, like right from WWE and like some other people knew each other from Independence and just kind of like Impact and like you just cross paths. But like, it was really strange because, you know, when you, I think you look at guys like Trevor Murdoch, me, who else? Ken Kennedy.
Right.
It's like we're like, okay,
Trevor.
Yeah,
all of them.
Like,
right. Yeah.
You associate us with the WWE, right?
Yeah.
You have guys like James Storm, like Eli Drake, who you associate with Impact, right? So like we're just associated with different brands, right? And then what you have, you've also got some homegrown guys. Like Tim Storm,
right?
Who, my God, the guy had the best run of his career with the 10 pounds of gold late in his career, but still manages to. I think Tim Storm, honestly, is one of the best characters in the wrestling business today, only because that character is such a part of who he is. And I said this to him. I go, Tim, I don't think you could ever work heel because there's honestly, and this is maybe the Hollywood coming out of me. I don't want to overanalyze, but like there's something just so sincere and so genuine about him. To where like you just want to like him.
Yeah. And I mean, my feeling was like, where has this guy been? Why didn't it ever really happen for him? Because he like this genuine, maybe where along the way he was never really given that opportunity to let that out. I don't know. Yeah. But you're right. And,
you know, amazing and great in the ring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like phenomenal in the ring. So, you know, you had everyone, and again, like, you know, you had these homegrown people you associated with other brands, but like I often say, like, yeah, we're kind of like the pirate ship, we're kind of like the wild children. You know what I mean? Like we didn't quite fit in anywhere else for one reason or another. And then like the NWA, it's like this just amalgamation of a little bit of everyone, but then we're put in a blender and we're now all something completely new. And it's weird because like people are associating me now more with NWA, and I think Trevor's getting a little bit more of that too. You know, to where like no, like we are now because you didn't see Trevor a lot either after he left WWE, right?
No, God, he's disappeared.
Yeah, and I mean,
some like, mainstream,
like the work that you know, again, James Storm, Eli Drake, you know, everyone, Nick, Ricky Starks, that kid, in my opinion.
Yeah. He's got a big career ahead of him.
You have so many people that like are being highlighted in a way like never before. And I think like the NWA, like that's the place where you get the opportunity. And you know, I don't, this is something that like, I don't want to be misquoted on, but remember ECW back in the 90s when they were like counterculture, they were the rebels and like now granted
the bad boys,
doing chair shots and crazy stuff, right? Like that. The NWA is 2020's equivalent of ECW because we are the counterculture. Because the counterculture now is wrestling. And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. I mean, again, promos, in-ring action, know the characters, tell a story, drive it home. And
make me care.
And that's again in NWA, like to get over and be over in NWA, you have to know what you're doing. And that's what I think is so great. Because like with Dave Lagana's knowledge and Billy's knowledge, and then you know, there's been other people in the office. They all kind of put their heads together, and you know what I mean? If you've been around for a while, like you know who will fit. And then at the same time, giving opportunities to guys that that are just young, up and coming, or that haven't had opportunities before. It's an even playing field, and it really is like it is a sense of team. I will say that. My experience in NWA has been nothing but like sense of team. Everyone's working hard, and I haven't ran into any egos there. Which is it's such a refreshing thing because you know, with me especially, and like you know this, to work with me, you kind of have to trust me because I
Yeah, because you don't. Yeah, you got to say
Yeah.
just. I don't know where this is going, but we'll be fine. We're gonna.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
Like, and
yeah,
that's the thing.
yeah,
To where, like, look,
yeah,
if I'm out there, and whether it's on a promo or in a match,
yeah,
and like my gut, and I just get that feeling that, like, this is what you do.
yeah.
I've been very lucky. People have trusted me, and I've trusted them too as well. But where I tend to be a little bit more in the moment, shall we say, as a lot of people. But then it's been so good and so awesome, and then to get to work with guys who are so passionate, it's been so refreshing to me, because it's everything I missed about the business. And again, like, I thank everyone that's been trusting of me, and then I've been just as trusting of them. And that's kind of that's a beautiful thing, and that's the way the business should be. So
Yeah, and I hope that it's a great environment for people like Ricky Starks and these younger guys that are coming up who have a tremendous amount of talent, and it's so great for me to see people that like you and Eli and Nick, who can cut these promos, and Tim Storm, and they learn, take this in, see what they do, see how they work, see how they go out there, and then they develop this trust about what they do. They're not, they may go out there with 5 bullet points. They may get to 3 and it's off to the races with something else. Yeah. I think people like Ricky and the other people there, that they take this in, they're going to have really successful careers, and they could end up helping to change the business in a sense. I don't say back, but to a point where, okay, you're making me care again. You're making me, it's not the high spots. It's not like you have to come off a balcony for me to pop for you, as you said. That's what this is all about. You taught guys that last generation before you, that's where you learned. That's where you saw these guys. And we've lost that, in a sense, on the big stage like that, where that is. And it's great to see the NWA. The timing, unfortunately, where we are right now, is that NWA was on this track, and now here we are, everything's frozen. How big of an impact? Yeah.
It's across the board, and I think too, when the time comes, hopefully soon, people are going to be starving for entertainment and to get out there and to do things, and that'll be a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we got a chance to catch up, and you're weathering this all through. We will come through it, and there's going to be a lot more ahead, guys. There's a lot more content coming from the new NWA and people like Aron. Aron, how can they stay in touch with you? And also, how are you mixing because more acting opportunities are coming your way? Can you see yourself being able to balance this and have both worlds?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? It's so funny you use the term balance, because when I shunned the wrestling business and shunned that part in me, that was something that was missing for me. And it's weird, like, since I've kind of embraced this part of who I was, it was such a large part of my life and what I did genuinely love. And balance is the key. And NWA is the perfect place for me to do it. Extremely happy there. And, it allows me to go and act and things like this. And just, again, you got to take every day as it comes. And that's the thing. You can have your trajectory of where you'd like to go and what you'd like. And this is just like in terms of life, what I've learned, like where you'd like to be in a year, 5 years, 10 years. But if you don't take advantage of the opportunities that come to you because you're so focused, on 5 years from now, then you're going to miss out.
Yep. And
you know what? And at the same time, appreciate where you're at. And that's the thing. Like, once you start appreciating where you're at, what you have, and this is something maybe we can all do, like, while we're in lockdown, like the little things, like we appreciate, like running water, power. Yeah. I mean, like, and I know it's
but we take it all for granted. Our country is the greatest country in the world, and we assume, I turn that little faucet thing on and fresh water comes out of it. I flip that switch and my room's lit up, but there are places that don't have that,
Exactly.
Appreciate it.
So just like that, I mean, I think, again, that balance, you have your goals, but appreciate where you're at now and just kind of, balance them out, and that'll get you there probably the fastest way. So,
and realize what makes you happy. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
realize what makes you happy, and you need both
Right.
these worlds. So that's great.
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, if you want to get a hold of me on Twitter, it is Aron's Thoughts. That's ARONS Thoughts. And on Instagram, it is the Aron Files, TheAron Files.
Yeah, you got merch out there where they can, if folks want
You know,
to.
I'm
Why
gonna be honest,
not?
I'm the worst
What?
independent wrestler ever. And like, or I don't know if we're independent because we're NWA, but Sean, even like when I did signings, I don't know merchandise stuff. No, I want to just show up, have my pictures, I'll sign them, I'll take pictures. Like I don't. NWA does have a T-shirt though, so I do have very limited merchandise. But you can go to NWA, and if you need to get a T-shirt, go and get the T-shirt there. So the NWA was kind enough to
We
make a new
need
T-shirt
more.
for me.
We need more, especially as the
But
the sensei,
yeah,
Mongrovian
we'll talk
movement
tomorrow.
continues to grow. But go to National Wrestling Alliance, and you can nationalwrestlingalliance.com, I should say, and get all the information on what's going on, what's the latest. But you will see Aron Stevens back in action. Aron, it's been awesome talking to you. Thanks for coming on Primetime again.
Hey, thank you, Sean. My pleasure.